Good morning, CSL Simi Valley, and welcome to Virch Church in the virtual style. Good to have you here this morning. I see a few of you on here. Let's see who I got here. Oh, Leslie, Tina Meeks, you got your music. It's all here, looking good. Cindy, Terry, Pat, Dale, Costa. Good to see you all. Auntie Ruth, I understand you're in the house too. John Newbill. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. So glad that you decided to be ours today. Oh man, you know, news is a call to prayer. It truly is. When I see some of the things that are happening in the news media today, I tell you, I just get into treatment mode and I affirm the good. And I know that we're going to move through all that is taking place in our world today. And I'm really feeling the call as spiritual beings, conscious of our spiritual connection to life itself. I really feel the call for us to continue to do our work to enhance the life of humankind. Some of the things that we're seeing going on, whether it's the spike and rise in COVID, the continued activity in the streets. They were protesting in my old neighborhood in Detroit because of a shooting there. A gentleman was pulled over outside of Minneapolis, St. Paul. Interestingly enough, the police departments, 3 different suburban police departments, descended on one guy, and they were able to find their challenges around it and offer him an apology, a public apology for a misstep on their part. So there is some shifting taking place, but it's going to take more, and it's been a long time. And this is our call in spiritual work. This is our call in a practice and a teaching that believes in oneness, and that is to make sure that all God's creatures, and that's part of the have an opportunity to have a balanced and equitable life experience. When I think about the call of our great way shower, Jesus Christ. Dr. Holmes loved the teachings of the Christian Bible. He also studied the Hebrew Bible, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, the Vedas, a lot of different texts. But he really dove deep into the way shower, into Jesus' call. And he was this guy who walked around with long hair and sandals and no money in his pockets. He really understood that there was this experience that we're supposed to have of balance and harmony for all beings. And what we're talking about today that's making so much news today, and why you might be wondering, why is he still talking about this? It's because we've been talking about it for so long, and now energy and intensity is working together to bring something about. Our own Justice Department, the United States Justice Department, says that a young black man born into America today in the 21st century has a 1 in 3 chance, of being in jail or prison in his lifetime. That is crazy. The 4th most populous country in the world with the number 1 population in prisons. These things need to be shifted. Our educational system needs to change. And our energy that we can bring as spiritual beings to live our spiritual truth is part of that. It's been going on for a while. It was 5 years ago. I know this is a sermon before the sermon, but hey, I'm on a tangent already. I was going to go into something else, but this 5 years ago today, or this month, June. No, 5 years ago, June. 5 years ago, June, a man walked into a prayer circle in Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina, and opened fire and killed 9 people. Cynthia Marie Graham Hurd, Susie Jackson, Ethel Lee Vance, Dwayne Middleton Doctor, Tawanza Sanders, Daniel Simmons, Sharonda Coleman Singleton, Myra Thompson, in a prayer circle with their pastor and a senator for the state of South Carolina, who was an up and coming. This guy was in his 20s and already a state senator, Clementa Pinckney. Killed them. Barack Obama was called to go, our former president, was called to do the eulogy. And he spoke to something that spoke to me as I breezed through and heard it the other day. And I wanted to share it with you because this is why we cannot slip into what he calls a comfortable silence. Barack Obama.
None of us can or should expect a transformation in race relations overnight. Every time something like this happens, somebody says, we have to have a conversation about race. We talk a lot about race. But it would be a betrayal of everything Reverend Pinckney stood for, I believe, if we allowed ourselves to slip into a comfortable silence again. You're right. Once the eulogies have been delivered, once the TV cameras move on, to go back to business as usual. Right. That's what we so often do. To avoid uncomfortable truths about the prejudice that still infects our society. To settle for symbolic gestures without following up with the hard work of more lasting change. That's how we lose our way again. Reverend Pinckney once said, across the South, we have a deep appreciation of history. We haven't always had a deep appreciation of each other's history. What is true in the South is true for America. Clem understood that justice grows out of recognition of ourselves in each other. That my liberty depends on you being free too. That history can't be a sword to justify injustice or a shield against progress, but must be a manual for how to avoid repeating the mistakes of the past, how to break the cycle, a roadway toward a better world. He knew that the path of grace involves an open mind, but more importantly, an open heart. That's what I felt this week, an open heart. That, more than any particular policy or analysis, is what's called upon right now, I think. What a friend of mine, the writer Marilyn Robinson, calls that reservoir of goodness beyond and of another kind, that we are able to do each other in the ordinary cause of things. That reservoir of goodness. If we can find that grace, anything is possible. If we can tap that grace, everything can change. Amazing grace. Amazing grace. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Clementa Pinckney found that grace. Cynthia Hurd found that grace. Susie Jackson found that grace. Ethel Lance found that grace. The Payne Middleton doctor found that grace. Tywanza Sanders found that grace. Daniel L. Simmons Sr. found that grace. Sharonda Coleman Singleton found that grace. Myra Thompson found that grace. Through the example of their lives, they've now passed it on to us. May we find ourselves worthy of that precious and extraordinary gift as long as our lives endure. May grace now lead them home. May God continue to shed his grace on the United States of America.
You notice how he said there the emphasis on united, the United States of America. We have become united. It took 5 years, and it may take more, but we are in a space that is very different. You know, a very reputable research firm, the Pew Research Organization, says that in their last survey, 60 to 80% of the American population is now behind the Black Lives Matter movement. It started in 2013, after names like Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, Eric Garner. Now we add George Floyd and more. We're at a critical time, and we are, us, the Center for Spiritual Living, and particularly the Center for Spiritual Living Simi Valley, is one of those communities that has tapped into that reservoir of goodness, that we have the grace and we can practice the grace through the way we live and believe in our vision and our mission statement. Let's anchor ourselves in the truth of who we are and how we get to be in the world in these 3 principles that we hold dear for our particular branch of the Centers for Spiritual Living. Here it is. We're community, inclusive, loving, and authentic. We celebrate all paths to God in gratitude, empowering self and others. And here it is. We serve compassionately through outreach, inspiration, and education. That's who we are. That's why we're here. And here's what we do.
Good morning. It's Dave Robinson.
And Ma!
I know you were expecting Jan and John, but since both Ma and I have discovered Ernest Holmes and the science of mind, we wanted to be involved with CSL Simi Valley. And Jan and John graciously offered to have us take their place today. So, it is our pleasure to welcome all of you joining our blend of virtual and church, or what we call Virch Worship Celebration. We are blessed to bring you this morning's announcements, sharing with you what we do.
But before I start, I just want to share that I have learned so much from Reverend Stephen. I still love Jesus. But now I love everyone, and I no longer let fear stop me. I have so much joy in my life. I feel blessed. So on to the announcements. This week, Wednesday night experience is a follow-up. Last week, we watched a revealing presentation about our nation's Civil War history. This week, we're going to continue the conversation that we started. Please join us. I will be there. It was powerful. It was informative. And it was awakening. It is called The Truth of the Confederacy. Search YouTube and you'll easily find it. And even if you don't get a chance to watch, you're still invited to join the discussion on Wednesday. It will be July 15th at 7 p.m. The meeting ID is 256-864-2999. 274. The passcode is 473831.
And the following Wednesday night experience, which is July 22nd from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., our homegrown dynamic duo, Michelle and Dean, return for an event called Pathways to a Peaceful Mind. More details, and as well as the Zoom connection info, will be available here next week and on the CSL See Me calendar page.
We want to remind you about the virtual offerings. Pre-recorded Play and Learn with the wonderful Dr. Susan lessons are posted to our YouTube channel, CSL Simi Valley, each week. She also streams live on Sunday mornings, 9:30 through the center's website. Reverend Stephen is out and about on Monday through Friday, bringing you Practicing Oneness at 1. And it streams live from his personal Facebook page. I'm there. Come and join me. It's wonderful.
Also, anyone looking for emotional and spiritual support during these challenging times, or maybe you even want to express gratitude for the good life provides, reach out to the center's practitioners and ministers for prayer, which we call treatment. Follow the prompts on our website to find a practitioner, and you can also call the office to leave your request. We realize that not everyone is on Facebook, which is why this service will be uploaded to YouTube later today. So, for friends who miss this live broadcast or simply don't do Facebook, tell them to check us out on YouTube.
Reverend Stephen is still looking for your video. It's a shout out to the community. It's super simple. It's just a video selfie. You can be a ham. You can have fun with it. You can have a real blast. But remember that they are only to be 30 seconds. Send them in, and they will be played at the end of service.
If you want to unpack today's talk, ask questions of Reverend Stephen, or just connect with other members of the community, join up at Pray Virch after today's service. A link will be posted on the Facebook comments window near the end of the service this morning.
Now get ready for the fantastic Sherry Deeds Holy Holy. While she is performing for you, encourage you to invite a friend, a family member, or another loved one to please come join us. Sharing our Virch service is a simple way of staying together while we are apart.
And again, welcome to all of you viewing from wherever you are. We are so grateful that you've chosen to spend this time with us this morning.
So, speaking as Jan,
And speaking as John,
we love you.
And
Please
stay
stay
safe. And remember,
Remember,
Namaste.
And here's Sherry.
Holy, 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 holy.
So, our affirmation today, I'll read through it once and then we'll say it together. Letting go, I enhance the experience of heaven on earth by sharing my good with all Spirit's creations. Together. Letting go, I enhance the experience of heaven on earth by sharing my good with all Spirit's creations. My reading today comes from the Science of Mind textbook by Ernest Holmes, available online at smile.amazon.com. So in the back of the book, there's a bunch of what Holmes calls meditations, but what I call poetry. Science of Mind teaches that feeling, emotion, is what gives power to treatment, and Holmes knew that poetry is a great way to evoke feeling. This is called "The Gifts of God Are Mine Today." It is God's good pleasure to give me the kingdom of heaven, or harmony and abundance. Today opens to me the blessings of infinite and eternal treasure, inviting me to dig deeply into it. As I believe in my heart, so it is done unto me in all things. I ask, so do I receive, a full measure unto my faith, pressed down and running over. These and other divine promises and assurances sing in me. The still small voice reminds me that all Spirit has is mine. This day I listen deeply to that still small voice, and I believe its promises. I fear nothing, neither lack, limitation, disappointment, nor distress of any kind. For is not Spirit always with me? What causes any appearance of lack in my life? Simply my fear or my belief that God could forsake me. I do not believe in that. It no longer matters to me what is the appearance of today or what has gone before. Today is new, and I am newly awakened in it. And I believe, with dauntless faith, that my good, in full measure, comes to me from Spirit today. I now believe that it is indeed God's good pleasure to give me bounty. I know that it gives as I ask, without question or limit, and I am ready to receive. The gifts of God are mine today. Join with me now in consciousness, knowing that the divine is without time or space, that it is eternal and omnipresent. It is everywhere and every time, and it is us. We are divine, experiencing what we think of as the real world, but this is just the biophysiological, chemical, material world. There's also the spiritual world, and it's all the same. So from this place of knowing that the divine is and we are united with that divine. So we have all the same attributes. We are creative, we are powerful, we are wise, we are loving, we are kind, we are beautiful. We are all these good things. And right now we make time to consciously declare what we are seeking right here, right now. We want a world that works for everyone, so we declare it into being. We live in a world that works for everyone. We are grateful for our teachers, for this teaching, for all good things. We know that this is an exciting time, and at times it appears difficult, but the big picture is it is all good. Good is being done. We are good people, and we have good thoughts and good intentions. And we receive the deep blessings of Spirit. They are for us and they are for everyone. They come to us and we share them abundantly because everybody has so much. We have no fear of lack or limitation. We have belief in abundance and prosperity and health. So from this place of such great blessing, heaped up and overflowing, we give thanks for all that is ours and all that we have to share, especially for this center, for this Virch. And with a great thanksgiving and appreciation, we release this word to the law, and the law says, yes, my child. It is done. And so it is.
Shine your light everywhere you go. Shine your light. Let your beauty show. There's a light within you. Let it glow. Shine your light and free your soul. Shine your light everywhere you go. Shine your light. Let your beauty show. There's a light within you. Let it glow. Shine your light and free your soul. Gotta shine your light so we can see the truth. Shine your light for me and for you. Shine it on the pathway of justice and peace. You gotta shine your light on your light. Come on and shine it bright. Everybody shine your light.
So join me now in our gap meditation, God Awareness Place, where we take some time to consciously go within and listen to that still small voice. welcome back. If you found this experience useful, incorporate it into your daily life. Just take a breath, take a pause, and listen to that still small voice inside, and listen to the gap between the thoughts. Namaste.
You can feel it if you open up your heart. You can hear it if you open up your heart. You can see it if you open up your heart. You can be it if you open up your heart. You can feel the beat of love every minute calling out your name. And you can hear the sound of peace in the water dripping on your window pane. And you can see the light of hope in a rainbow shining just for you. And you can be the one who dares to make a difference in the little things that you do. You can feel it, oh yeah, if you open up your heart. You can hear it, yeah, if you open up your heart. Ooh, yeah, you can see it. If you open up your heart, open up your heart, you can be it. If you open up your heart, yeah. Now you can feel the beat of love every minute calling out your name. And you can hear the sound of peace in the water dripping on your window pane. Now you can see the light of hope in a rainbow shining just for you. And you can be the one who dares to make a difference in the little things that you do. Oh, you can feel it, if you open up your heart. Yeah, you can hear it, if you open up your heart. Open up your heart, you can see it, yeah, if you open up your heart. Now you can be it, yeah, if you open up your heart. So much of life is wasted on misery that tears us apart. Oh, true happiness is yours and you feel it when you open up your heart. Oh, if you open up your heart, I can open up your heart, you can feel it. Oh yeah, if you open up your heart, oh, you can see it.
That's right. You can see it if you open up your heart. You can feel it if you open up your heart. You can hear it if you open up your heart. You can be it if you open up your heart. That's what I'm talking about today. If you open up your heart, and to open up your heart, you have to give your heart. And in giving your heart, you get to keep your love. You get to keep your joy. You get to keep your peace and your harmony. But you got to give it. You got to give it of service. And that's really what I want to talk about, service and how we are of service. And when we're being of service to our fellow humankind, we're being of service. There's only one life. That life is God. That life is my life, your life. That is the only thing that is. The thing itself, as Dr. Holmes calls it, our founder. So when you're being it, feeling it, seeing it, hearing it, opening up from your heart and being of service to others, you're being of service to the divine, because that's the only thing that is. So when we're doing that, we are expressing the God self that is within us through the various ways we can be of service. And there are a lot of ways to be of service. And there's silver service at a fancy restaurant where they always serve from the left. There's military service, which I'm marching. There's military service where we've been talking about that because it's the month of July, the freedom, the 4th of July, Independence Day, and all that sort of thing. There's in sports, there's the tennis service over the net, Payal, right? Yeah, ask Reverend Patrick, he'll tell you about that. Or there's Wednesday, there's evening service, the prayer service, the solemn service. And what's become very popular in our culture today, fix it yourself, DIY self-service. Self-service. As I talked about at the top of the service today, another form of service, right? That we're not going to let, as the former President Barack Obama talked about, we're not going to let ourselves slip back into a comfortable silence about what's going on. And there are a lot of people still being of service to that cause of injustice, still out in the streets being of service, particularly around the hashtag Black Lives Matter, right? So there we're talking about a form of service. It's called from a sense of opening up your heart to the injustice that's taking place in the world, opening up your heart to the inequity that's taking place in the world, opening up hearts to the pain that has been taking place for centuries for different parts of our population. And what is it to do? How can we be of service? Where is the self-service part in that? And there's a lot of it, because we always want to get out there and do something, but maybe it's the thing to do first is to begin to educate the self, deep reading, understanding, studying, opening up, listening, and being into that place that opens us up to a space of transformation. And then also there's a way of being in acceptance of people where they are, because not everybody's on the same part of the continuum that you're on, but we're all evolving and rising the tide as more and more people get to that tipping point. There will be a shift, there will be a change, and we're going to be a part of that change, and we're going to keep talking about that change until it happens. But it's interesting that when you're talking about service, sometimes we have to zero in on exactly what we mean, because as we heard from Karen Casey and Martha Vansberg, the word service, the word has so many different connotations that we lose the thread to connect them. In fact, in truth, here's the final part. Something done for another. That's service. Something done for another. And this talk today, got to give it away to keep it, comes from a 12-step principle. They talk about that. You have to give away everything you've learned in that process in order to keep the serenity and the peace that you gain from practicing the principles. And I believe there's a similar law in the science of mind as well. We call it the law of circulation. We must put into circulation what we know, what we have grown to, what we've experienced through our teachings, through our practices, and give that out so that we can keep ourselves fresh and alive and alert and aligned to that truth and to that idea that we practice in our teaching. We have to give it to keep it. The story that I want to tell you now, it's often a story that talks about what heaven is actually feeling like, but it's also a demonstration of giving it to keep it, giving it to keep your health, giving it to keep yourself well. Well, let me say, it's the story of the woman who goes off into the transitional world. They call it death sometimes, right? And she's led into this room. And in the room, there's a beautiful banquet laid out before her. And she's looking, and everybody in the room is absolutely miserable and thin, even though there's this banquet of food before them, because they've got these long spoons attached to their arms, and they're just sitting there, right? They're not practicing the law of circulation. They're not giving it, so they're not keeping their health, they're not keeping their joy, they're not keeping their happiness. Then she's led to another room, and in there, before the door even opens, he can hear laughter and joy and partying going on. And they look into the room, and there's all the same situation, big thing with food, spoons on their arms, but everyone is reaching over and feeding someone else. They're being of service, right? They're practicing the law of circulation. And Dr. Holmes tells us, he says that when the law of circulation is retarded, stagnation results. There's a stagnation going on in our culture today, in our world today, because we have not been circulating all of our good to all the members of our society. And now we're being called into a place where we get to circulate that good so that all can benefit from it. See, we have to give from our abundance. And that abundance, I'm not talking about necessarily dollars and cents. Sometimes that abundance is where you sit on the social status in the culture, where you experience your particular forms of privilege or goods that come to your life, the opportunities that are before you. If we're not giving those fairly to everyone, we're having stagnated results. And as a result of that, our nation, our community, our peoples, flat line. It's like the parable with the bags of gold, where the wealthy man, he's got 3 servants that are working for him, and he's going away. He says, I'm going to be gone for a while. Here, I want you to take care of this money for me, these bags of gold. He gives one guy, you know the story, right? From this parable, Jesus tells us the story. He's a great storyteller. He's got a lot of great stories. You should check him out. So there's 5 bags of gold to one guy, 2 bags to another guy, 1 bag to the third. The one with 5 bags, he goes out and immediately works that into 5 more bags of gold. The guy with 2 bags, same thing. He goes out, he also invests his, and he comes back with 2 additional bags of gold. The third person, you know this story, right? The third person, he takes his bag of gold and thinks, oh my God, I just have 1 bag of gold. I should protect it. I'm not going to practice the law of circulation. I'm going to retard my growth. I'm going to stagnate it. I'm going to save it. I'm going to bury it into the ground. He buries it into the ground. Then the wealthy man comes back and he says, hey, I'm back. Yo, what's up, everybody? Hey, how you doing? And he comes back and one guy says, hey, how did it go? And the first fellow says, well, you know, I took the gold and I worked hard and I turned it into 5 bags of gold. He says, you should keep that. Okay. And then the next guy says, I took my 2 bags of gold. I turned them into 4 bags of gold. Oh, that's really great. The third guy goes, I was worried. I know how hard you've worked for your money, so I held on to it. I just have the 1 bag to give back to you. He says, you know what? Give that to the other guy. He takes it away from him. You see, this is interesting. Some people feel like stuff's being taken away from them because they haven't been able to share the good they have. But for some people, the power is the gold, not money. Power is the value, not money. Richness is the value, not money. And I'm talking about richness and opportunity, richness in this thing called freedom, richness in the way of living a life where you're not looking over your shoulder, worried about what's going to happen if an authority figure comes over and taps you on the shoulder and says, hey, what are you doing here? The law of circulation must be practiced or stagnation results. There's another aspect of the law of circulation. It's called the golden rule. Baha'i has the golden rule. Judaism has the golden rule. Jainism has the golden rule. Hinduism has the golden rule. Buddhism has the golden rule. Confucianism has the golden rule. Native peoples, cultures from Africa to America have the golden rule. Taoism, Sikhism, universal Unitarianism, Zoroastrianism has the golden rule. And of course, the 3 Abrahamic religions also have the golden rule. In the Quran, it says, and whoever saves a life, it is as though he had saved all mankind. Whoever saves a life, it is as though she has saved all mankind. Or in the Torah, in Leviticus, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Have you loved your neighbor as yourself? Or have you followed Matthew's writings, the sayings of Jesus in Matthew? In everything, do to others what you would have them do to you. This is the golden rule. But you know, what I'm thinking here is there's actually more to service. There's more to service than the golden rule. We're going to talk about that. The golden rule has done well for centuries, but perhaps there's something more we need to consider that particularly works when we're thinking about this idea of into our world, equity into our nation, equity into our communities. It's here, I got this right here. This is a story from a guy named Tom from Massachusetts. He runs a food pantry. In fact, that's the first line. It says, "I run a food pantry." During the pandemic, the number of families we served has doubled, and so has the tonnage of food we distribute. At times, now, sidebar, Tom's been doing daily meditations and readings like many of us do, daily practice, morning practice. You might have some morning books that you read with quotes or whatever. This stuff works. It works to do your regular daily practice. Listen to what happens to Tom. He says, "The readings and the resulting prayers of my daily meditations have shifted my thinking. I no longer think of work as service, but as of solidarity, of becoming one with our neighbors." Service implies a vertical relationship, one above another. Solidarity calls for a horizontal, two-way relationship between equals, one to one. Of course, God is at the center of it all. Thank you, Tom. Solidarity, a two-way relationship between equals. It's time for us to work the golden rule into a solidarity, to expand that golden rule, because solidarity supports equals, and equals does not mean the same. The solidarity is that grace, that amazing, was Obama something singing Amazing Grace? Solidarity is grace, where we get to see the similarities and value the differences. Solidarity is the golden rule expanded. Here, a psychologist named Jeanette Raymond says, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Doing unto others as you would have them doing unto you assumes that people's experiences are alike. But that simply is not true." Let me read that one more time because I kind of bungled it the first go around, but you can read it. You can see it. Should I just be quiet and let you read it? You want me to read it? I'm going to pretend you're nodding yes. "Doing unto others as you would have them do unto you assumes," you know what happens when you assumes that people's experiences are alike. But that simply is not true. People's experiences can be similar, but they're not alike because we all bring our unique, remember, we are individualized expressions of the divine. We all bring our unique perspective to every situation. And sometimes that unique perspective can bring us to a place of solidarity and a place of being in service, and can grow us when we didn't even know we were in a position or in a place where we were about to grow. Let me introduce you to Amina and Joseph.
I noticed you with the hat, and I noticed that you were surrounded by some people, and I noticed that they were being kind of threatening, and then somebody snatched your hat off your head. And that's the point where something kind of snapped inside me, because I wear a Muslim hijab, and I've been in situations where people have tried to snatch it off my head.
Wow.
And I rushed towards you, and I just started screaming, "Leave him alone, give me that back."
I don't think we could be any further apart as people, and yet it was just kind of like this common, "that's not okay" moment. You are genuinely the only Muslim person I know. It's not that I've actively avoided, it's just,
Yeah.
I've just never been in the position where I can interact for an extended period of time. So I guess my views on the Muslim community have been influenced by a lot of the news articles and things of that nature.
I feel like a lot of times in the media, you don't see the normal Muslim, the one that listens to classic rock like I do. You don't meet that Muslim.
Can you tell me about where you grew up? What was that part of your life like?
So I was born in Baghdad, in Iraq. I moved to the U.S. when I was 10 years old.
Okay.
Being a Muslim girl, I stood out in almost every single way that you can in middle school, the worst time to stand out. What about you? How was it like when you grew up?
I was homeschooled,
Mm-hmm.
so it was a vastly different experience socially. I didn't have, I guess, as many friends as most people would. I only went to public school 1 year of my life, and I got in 3 fights, and I lost all of them.
Oh,
I actually lost a lot of friends because of this election, because of my political stance. So I hope that I can be the reason that someone decides to talk to someone as opposed to just cutting them out of their life or blocking them on Twitter,
Yeah. I'd like for this to encourage other people to engage in more conversations with people that you don't agree with.
That's what it's all about. I'm so glad I wasn't the only one who felt like that.
Because people's experiences are not alike doesn't mean that we're not similar at our core. That's why I love the idea of solidarity, of taking the golden rule beyond service to a space of solidarity equals meeting one-to-one, eyeball to eyeball on a same level so it can reach a space that Amina and Joseph reached without even knowing that they got there in the first place. Solidarity as grace. Taking the golden rule to the next level. And a lot of us have heard about that, and about how we give to keep by taking it to the next level. This one is called the platinum rule. I call it the Princess Bride rule, because remember Princess Bride? Farm boy, hand me that pitcher right there, as you wish. Farm boy, hand me that rock, as you wish. But that's the platinum rule. Treat others as they wish. As they wish. But in order to know that, we must learn and appreciate and embrace difference. We must not just appreciate the difference because, oh, that's novel, but appreciate the difference because we have come to understand, because we have educated ourselves and we have transformed ourselves into a place of acceptance where we can embrace the difference, not in a threatening way, but in a way that is with curiosity, in a way that can open us up to that space of solidarity. And then we can also do what Kristen Moore from UC Irvine talks about. She's the director of scientific study of ethics and morality. And she says that if you assume people know best what is best for them, then if their differences differ from yours, you should do what they prefer. What a novel idea. But it takes us being comfortable in who we are. So you have to be comfortable in where I am and know that I am not going to lose anything by giving someone a hand up, by giving someone an opportunity that they haven't previously had. By understanding that their preferences may differ from mine, but their desires for freedom, for liberty, for joy, happiness, for harmony, for creativity, for love of their family, there's no difference. We all carry that energy within us, but we must be willing to take it to the next level and maybe not always play a zero-sum game where there is this win-win scenario that has actually moved evolution forward. Can we be in that place? I'm thinking about this little mouse was kind of cruising through the jungle, taking his time, really having a great day, looking out. The sky looks beautiful, the trees are gorgeous, and he's just paused for a minute to take it all in. And as he's taking it all in, he turns around, he looks, there's a lion sleeping right over there next to him, right behind him, really close. And before he could even move, the lion opens one eye and sees the mouse and grabs at the mouse. And the poor mouse is like, oh my God, here, I'm about to meet my maker. But then the mouse says to the lion, Mr. Lion, I am just a measly little mouse. I mean, I don't think that there's enough of me to satisfy your hunger. Maybe what's best for me is if you don't eat me right now. And I know that your preference is to eat me right now, but the best for me is if you don't eat me right now. And I know that you prefer a long life and you probably need to eat a bigger meal for a long life. Maybe you can let me go. The lion kind of chuckles and thinks, boy, this is a brass little mouse. But you know what? Yeah, I'll let you go, because you're right. I need a gazelle. This is not going to work for me. So he lets the mouse go. Sometime later, you know how these forest stories go, jungle stories go, these animal stories go. Sometime later, The lion, strolling through the jungle, gets caught up in a snare and a trap, and he's caught, his claws, everything, he's all caught up in these ropes, and he's hanging from a tree, and there's nothing he can do. He cannot get out. As strong as he is, as strong as the king of the jungle is, he cannot get out of this trap. And there's the little mouse, comes scurrying up and starts to chew on the ropes with his sharp little teeth, until he cuts a hole so the lion can come out, and he saved the lion's life. Life is what we all want. We're not alone. And we're not doing this alone. We're in this circulation pattern that allows us to be of service to our fellow humankind. But we must prepare in order to do the service, and we must prepare in order to keep the balance of life going. And we do that through those things I talked about earlier, through the education, through transforming ourselves, through finding enough information where we can get into a place of acceptance of the difference, appreciate that, embrace those differences, expand the idea of the golden rule, and work from solidarity, and not let ourselves get silent or complacent about the opportunities that are before us to shift our culture. So we must keep moving forward despite any fears, despite the hesitation of what if, despite the habits and despite our past. We can get past our past. We can shift our habits. Dr. Holmes tells us that. Change your thinking, change your life. Change your actions, your life will change. We know this. And that comes down to something really simple. We must simply give in order to keep the joy, keep the progress, keep the forward movement of our culture and of our world. And so it is. Let's do the affirmation together, shall we? Here it is for today. It says, letting go, I enhance the experience of heaven on earth by sharing my good with all Spirit's creations. Every single one of them. All Spirit's creations. This is our healing prayer time. Time to, the treatment process that we use in the science of mind, the affirmative prayer process, is so very powerful because it affirms what is already true. Our experience does not always allow us to demonstrate what is already true. And what I mean by already true is that we live in an infinite universe where every possibility is already an actuality. The distance between that actuality and us is consciousness away. As we can align our consciousness, we bring the experience into our life. So when we go into treatment, what we're doing is we are affirming that it's already done, and we are affirming our ability and our willingness to step into the truth of who we are. That's the idea behind the healing prayer. So I'd like for you to join me now as we go into prayer, and also know that if you put your prayer request in the chat window, either during or following the prayer, we will harvest those and then share all those with our practitioner corps. Some of our practitioners are on the Facebook feed with us right now. I know John is there. Reverend Johanna, I believe, is there. Patty is there. Marianne Lockhart is there. So they're already seeing these prayer requests. And so all of us are knowing your truth for you and affirming it for you, because sometimes we doubt. Sometimes we worry. Sometimes we're concerned. But in practitioner work, what we come to know is that this reality exists. And so we know that it is the Father within that is doing the work, and we go to that Father right now in prayer. Join me now. Sensing and feeling that divine presence, that one and only thing that is, I unify with it in consciousness right here and now, and know in my heart of hearts that there is the one life, and I am of the one life. And what I know is true of me, I know is true of every person here on this Facebook stream right now, who will be joining us on YouTube later today, who may come back to it a week from now and look at it in the current now moment, which is the moment they're watching it in, because there's only now. There's only this eternal moment. So this word that I speak transcends this particular temporal experience and moves into the eternal experience, bringing it into your life at the time that is perfect and right for its expression for you. This is what I know. This is how I pray, and this is how I hold the truth self-evident that your life is good, for life is good. As the divine said at each end of each day of creation, it is good and very good, and then sat back and rest and looked at the joy of creation. Looking at the joy of prosperity, looking at the joy of abundance, looking at the joy of health and well-being, looking at the joy of opportunity realized, looking at the joy of relationships being healed, looking at the joy of people walking into their dreams and seeing those dreams become reality. This is the truth of our being. As we align our consciousness with this truth, it becomes real for us, and through prayer, we align ourselves with it and we allow it to be. In this moment, I have such deep faith and trust and conviction in the teachings of the great Wayshower, who never begged or pleaded with the divine, but simply declared, claimed, and accepted the good. And so in this moment, I confirm those truths and allow those truths to be realized in each and every one of our lives with a sense of gratitude in the power of the law that says, yes, yes, my beloved, in whom I am well pleased. It is my pleasure to give you the gift of the kingdom. And we are of the kingdom here and now. And so it is. Praying is a lovely thing. If you haven't done it for yourself, I tell you, you just join in and do the treatment work. It feels amazing. Scrolling down here because I want to see what is our next step into moving to. Oh, hey, I got a treat for you. If you enjoy Tina Meeks, which I know you do, how about some more Tina Meeks?
People get ready, there's a train a-coming. Don't need no baggage, you just get on board. All you need is faith to hear the diesels humming. Don't need no ticket, you just thank the Lord. People get ready, there's a train for Jordan, and it's picking up passengers from coast to coast. Faith is the key, open the doors and board them. There's hope for all those who love the most. There's plenty of room for the hopeless and beginners. Everyone's racing just to save his own. Have pity on those who are just beginning. There's no hiding place against the kingdom's throne. People get ready, there's a train a-coming. Don't need no baggage, you just get on board. All you need is faith to hear the diesels humming. Don't need no ticket, you just thank the Lord.
Oh, yeah. People get ready. There is a train a-coming. Get on board. And I want to send a shout out to Leon. Thank you so much for the editing work you did for Tina's videos. That's good looking stuff, man. Really appreciate that. And, you be smooth on that bass. You're looking smooth on that bass. And I also noticed, and I almost said that, reflecting on John Newbill's comment about as you wish. that when the dread Prior Wesley, which he was just Wesley then, farm boy, when he was saying "as you wish," he really was saying "I love you." But I also think, and what I missed it and wanted to say then, is that being of service from a place of solidarity is an "I love you" statement. It is an "I love you" statement to say, as you wish. You're coming from your heart. You're giving from your heart so you can keep that sensation of love moving through you. It is totally an "as you wish." And one of the things that happened this week is the board met last week doing some things around our finances. Things are coming along. We'll have a report from our treasurer next week. I believe Lane is online. And I've just called you out. So now you got to do a treasurer report for next week. But one of our members wanted to send a message. He had an idea that you wanted to share with our membership. So I want to bring you one of our, what we call now our governing members. Everybody's a member of Center for Spiritual Living Simi Valley, but when you take classes, sign up, become a conscious giver, then you become a voting member. But we don't, a voting member, really it's more than a vote. It's because you get to guide the center. You become a governing member. So Linda Legman, I bring you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Linda Legman. I've been a member for a long time. I'm calling you. I'm not calling you. I'm talking to my cell phone, so I keep thinking I'm calling. I'm talking to you from our living room, and I want to talk to you about the stimulus check that we got from the government. The purpose of the stimulus check with this COVID-19 pandemic was that we would help keep the economy going. And one thing that I really want to keep going is the Center for Spiritual Living in Simi Valley. So I tithe 10% of that to the Center for Spiritual Living, Simi Valley. And I'm talking to you about considering doing the same thing so we can pay our bills and keep the center going so that we can all get together again in person, though all the virtual stuff has been lovely, but it's not nearly as lovely as being in person. So this pandemic will be over and we'll all gather together again, and I'm looking forward to that time. So join me in tithing on your stimulus check to keep the Center for Spiritual Living thriving. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Thank you, Linda. And this is our time when we do practice the tithe, when we do practice our law of circulation. And in doing so, we have a pledge that we say together at this time when we're in the center. And this is one of the reasons why we're not there. We can't say community things together at the same time. That's one of the guidelines, that there's no singing, there's no chanting, there's no affirming together at once in choral. But you can do it from home. I'm going to do a 5 count, and we'll do it together. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Divine love is doing its perfect work here and now. Divine love harmonizes. Divine love adjusts. Divine love prospers. Divine love foresees everything and richly provides every good thing for CSL Simi Valley now. Divine love is victorious.
I'm thankful, so grateful. I am one in the spirit around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God. I surrender. I am one in the spirit around me. I surrender. I trust in God. I trust in God.
Life is cyclic. The sun rises and sets. The moon waxes and wanes. The seasons turn warmer and cooler. We breathe in, we breathe out. Life is cyclic. We give and we receive. Right now, we practice this circulation. We give away some of what we have, and more flows in to fill up the space. We share our good with all of Spirit's creations. We are grateful, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Reverend Rob. Thanks to everyone who participated in the service today. Of course, our music team with Sherry Dees and Tina Meeks, and backup with Leon, our practitioner, Rob, for today. All of the folks that are online with us and the support that we get. We've really, Linda, and who could forget Drunken Dave and Ma, John Mizialko and Jan Daly. Thank you so much for announcements today. I really enjoyed bringing you our service today. We will have a shortened Apres Virch after service, and let me see if I can scroll down to that. That's where we all get together, and here is the Zoom information. If you have the app, you can click in those numbers and it'll get you to it. The password is the center's phone number. And in a moment, I will also be able to go over and drop it into the chat window. Also want to let you know that, let's see here, hold on. There we go. Now I'm back. Also want to let you know that Dr. Susan will be in the office after service. If you'd like to call in to do a donation, you can call into the office for that. So we've got that for you. And that brings us to a close of another beautiful Virch service. Have a lovely, lovely Sunday, a great week ahead. Wednesday night, we'll be doing part 2 of our discussion around the documentary, actually more as a presentation by a member of the ACLU, Jeffrey Robinson is his name, and it's called The Truth of the Confederacy. It's a powerful piece. You can just Google ACLU Confederacy in YouTube, and it'll come up if you'd like to view it and then join us in the conversation on Wednesday. I think it's a powerful way that we can shift ourselves and move forward, and there's a lot going on around that. So it's nice to be educated so you can make a decision for yourself. Not telling you how to think, but helping you figure out not what to think, but helping you figure out how you might think about these things. And one way is to think from a broader foundation of information, and that's simply all we're trying to bring to you. So join us for that if you'd like to. And I think that's about everything. Let me think. Give me a minute. Let me see. Look at my notepad. Anything on it? Nope. Shine your light. Open your heart. Reservoir of goodness. Stay in the reservoir of goodness. Keep tapping into the reservoir of goodness. Keep practicing grace. Grace, that amazing grace that allows us to move beyond any space we've ever been in before. Join me now as we do our closing benediction. Sherry will sing us out, and I'll see some of you for a short Apres Virch after service. Here you go. I'm at home in the heart of God. My life is anchored in truth. I can never be separate. I live in the consciousness of peace. I release all fear. I am living love.
I release, I let go, I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. I'm only for God. I can see it if you open up your heart. You can be it if you open up your heart. You can feel the beat of love every minute calling out your name, and you can hear the sound of peace in the water dripping on your window pane, and you can see the light of hope in a rainbow shining just for you, and you can be the one who dares to make a difference in the little things that you do. You can feel it, oh yeah, if you open up your heart. You can hear it, yeah, if you open up your heart. Ooh, yeah, you can see it, if you open up your heart. Open up your heart, you can be it, if you open up your heart. Yeah. Now you can feel the beat of love every minute calling out your name, and you can hear the sound of peace in the water dripping on your window pane. Now you can see the light of hope in a rainbow shining just for you, and you can be the one who dares to make a difference in the little things that you do. Oh, you can feel it, if you open up your heart. Yeah, you can hear it, if you open up your heart. Open up your heart, you can see it, yeah, if you open up your heart. Now you can be it, yeah, if you open up your heart. So much of life is wasted on misery that tears us apart.